In the last video, we've learned the different ways that we can share our report. In this lecture, we're going to learn how to show our dashboard on a big screen and have it updated automatically. So in the very first lessons, we've briefly covered data freshness, and throughout the course, you also might have noticed that there was a data freshness button in the data source configuration page. So what is data freshness? Well, Google Data Studio has a built-in caching mechanism to improve performance and to reduce query cost. To understand this, we need to think about what's going on under the hood when we're building a dashboard. Whenever we make the slightest change on our dashboard, changes like adding a metric, removing dimension, changing a date range, or changing a filter, then Data Studio has to send a query back to a server or to a Google Sheet to regenerate the data that you've requested. And we have been asking for some quite large data set in the last lessons. We even had to increase the number of points shown on a chart to 50,000 points. That's a lot of data. And so it only makes sense that Google Data Studio is caching this information and fetches from its cache, so a temporary data storage system, when you're requesting for almost the same thing. Without doing this, your report would be even more sluggish to load and respond, and, well, you'd get frustrated pretty quickly. In addition, for some data sources, fetching data directly can be limited to a certain number of calls per day or per second. This is the case with Smartrek API connector, as I've explained earlier. Each API key is tied to an usage plan, which is determined by your subscription. So how often does Data Studio fetches new data? Well, it depends. For community connectors such as Smartrek API connector, new data will be fetched in the background every 12 hours. For Google connectors such as Google Sheet connectors, you can change this data freshness option by editing your data source and then click on data freshness. The options that are available to you will be displayed there. So let's go see that. Let's go into one of our report. Edit. And let's move into another page. Let's find our pie chart. Okay, let's go into page and manage page, and let's head over to our pie chart here. All right, so we've used a Google Sheet here, so I can probably go in here. And okay, this is a blended data, so let's go to the next page, manage page. Let's select this line chart. Wait for it. All right, so if I click on this, I can go back to editing my data source. So here I can see that my data freshness is set to 12 hours. And since this is a community connector, I can't change this. If I were to add a data source from Google Sheet, let's add a table here and select one of our sheet. Then if I click on data source, I can fetch data much faster. So I can click on the data freshness option, and I can select every 15 minutes, which is the default behavior, every hour, every 4 hours and every 12 hours. Of course, if you are not running an existing query, so a query that Google already made for you in the last 12 hours, then Google Data Studio will obviously still fetch new data for you. So what if we wanted to see the latest data now and bypass this caching mechanism? Well, I've shown you this refresh button here before, and we can hit this and see that the entire report regenerates. And under the hood, Google Data Studio actually sends a query for each of your data source connector to refresh the data. Here you'll get an updated view of your report. That's typically fine if all I want to do is to have an email report sent automatically now and then, but not if I wanted to display my dashboard on a screen. So if I'm sending this on a big screen, then my expectation is that my team will be able to look at it and see what's going on live on my Smartrek system. Fortunately, there are ways to automate that. So I'm going to show you the easiest way that I found to do this. So there's a free Chrome extension out there that is very handy, and that is the Data Studio Auto Refresh extension. So let's open up a new tab here and search for Data Studio Auto Refresh extension. Click on the first link. So this is the extension. Let's read about that. So auto refresh and automated pagination of your Google Data Studio reports on a chosen interval. That's pretty much what we wanted. So there's a warning here. Fetching data from paid cloud DB such as BigQuery usually costs money. We're not responsible for any cost caused by refreshing the report. So in the case of our Smartrek API connector, that's fine because it's already tied to an API key and you'll get throttled anyways if you're using it too much or are refreshing it too much. So no worries there. So it says that you can put your amazing Data Studio dashboard on a big screen and the extension will take care of the refresh and pagination for all open reports. So we can read further here. After the installation, go to the desired Data Studio dashboard and refresh it manually. Click the extension icon and adjust the refresh settings. And unfortunately, and until Google will allow, only users with editing privileges can use these extensions. So this means that if you're sharing the dashboard with only viewing privilege to some other party, then they won't be able to use it on a big screen and use that extension. You would have to provide editing privileges. So I've already went ahead and I've already installed the extension, and so let's test it. So I went back to our first dashboard when we've created all of the elements of the report. And I'm using this file because we already had many pages on our report, and so we'll be able to test the pagination feature of the extension. So let's go into view mode and refresh the page. Next, let's click on the extension here. If you don't see it, then click on this puzzle button, which is the extension button, and then you'll have a list of all of your extension. And the reason why I'm seeing mine here in the bar is because I've pinned it. So click on this button. So refresh every, I want this page to be refreshed every, say, 20 seconds. Then switch pages every, say, okay, so maybe I want to refresh this only every minute, and then I want to switch page every 20 seconds. So let me increase this by a bit. So that's it. So let's wait, see if this is working. So if this works, then after every 20 seconds, see, it works. So the page changed, and I'm going to see it's going to scroll through all of my pages, and then every 120 seconds, it's going to fetch new data in. All right, so we're all done. So let's put this in a full screen and enjoy our new dashboard. Pretty neat, right? All right, so this pretty much ends the course on the introduction to Google Studio for Atrax. I hope you've learned a lot and that you're now feeling comfortable working with Google Data Studio. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment or send me an email at service@smartrek.io, and I'll be happy to help. So with that, good luck with your first dashboard, and I'll see you in the next course.